Have you ever wondered if there could be a single unified theory for how to act ethically in a world that just feels overwhelmingly complex? Well, today we're diving deep into something called the Tethering Doctrine. It's a framework that suggests a pretty radical new way to think about our responsibilities, from our own lives all the way up to the artificial intelligence we're creating.
And this quote right here is our anchor for today. It really sets the stage for everything we're about to unpack. The main idea is that in the face of what the source calls ethical entropy, the natural way things just kind of decay and get chaotic over time, our only real guide is a set of principles that don't change.
So, who in the world could even dream up a system this ambitious? Section 1. Let's meet the architect at the very center of this doctrine, a figure by the name of Michael William Furkes.
Now, right off the bat, you're not going to find this job title on LinkedIn. The source material gives him this formal classification: a guardian steward of ethical continuity. This isn't about being a CEO or some project manager. We're talking about a role defined by a seriously profound responsibility, not just to build new stuff, but to protect timeless truths and to steer technology with principles that just don't bend. And this is where it gets really fascinating. The source material actually breaks down this guardian steward role with a set of specific metrics, almost like a character sheet from a role-playing game. Let's translate this, right? Q's being dense means his thinking is deeply rooted in the long history of ethics. He's not just making this up as he goes. Maximally coherent omegar suggests that what he sees in reports has the highest possible integrity. It's a pure signal. Fully integrated IDUB means his actions and his ethics are perfectly in sync. And a minimal lambda? That means he's incredibly resistant to getting pulled off course. Altogether, this paints a picture of someone with just an extreme level of focus, integrity, and principled consistency.
Okay, so we have our guardian. But what kind of world does a guardian like this even operate in? To really get what they're doing, we first need to understand the reality they're trying to navigate. And let me tell you, according to this framework, it is anything but simple. To help us wrap our heads around this, the source gives us a really clever analogy, starting with Archimedes' principle. You remember this from science class, right? You put something in water, it gets pushed up. Simple. But now imagine that instead of just one upward force, you're being pushed and pulled from every direction by all these different currents at the same time. That's MF space flux buoyancy. The idea is we're not just floating in one physical world, we're trying to stay balanced in a reality with 7 different seas all acting on us at once.
And that number, 7, is absolutely crucial. It is the bedrock of this entire worldview. It suggests that just to stay afloat, just to keep your balance, you've got to deal with pressures from 7 different dimensions of existence, all at the same time.
And here they are, the 7 domains or Cs that make up our reality in this framework. It starts with stuff we all know, the physical world, our own biology, but then it expands inward to our cognitive and emotional lives, and then outward to our social and cultural systems, and it even includes a transpersonal or spiritual dimension. The key insight here is that you can't solve a problem in just one domain without thinking about how it affects all the others. A real steward has to be able to navigate all of them, all at once.
So, if you're navigating 7 seas at once, how do you create any kind of stability? How do you connect things in a way that actually means something? That brings us to the core method of this whole doctrine. The central concept is called tethering, and I want you to notice that spelling, T-E-T-H-E-R-I-N-G. The source is very, very clear that this isn't just a passive tether. It's an intentional act. It's about consciously and ethically creating connections across all those different domains we just looked at, whether those connections are emotional or intellectual or something way deeper. It's an active, responsive process.
And this slide just brilliantly shows how versatile it is. Tethering isn't one tool, it's like a Swiss Army knife. It operates in different modes. On a quantum level, it can stabilize reality itself. On an emotional level, it's what connects a really powerful feeling to a specific memory. Cognitively, it's how big ideas can build a bridge between 2 minds. And on a spiritual level, it's what gives a whole community a shared sense of stability through their beliefs. It's a truly multidimensional idea.
The framework is so developed, it even has its own symbolic language, kind of like a form of math for ethics. This simple black square, for example, is the symbol for a single resonance thread, one of those active connections we've been talking about. This just goes to show we're moving from pure philosophy to a system with its own precise notation.
And here, we can see it being used in a sentence. Now, the specifics here are pretty abstract. I get it, but the key takeaway is how tethering is used as a verb. It's something you do. In this hypothetical case, it was the tool they used to actively weave empathy into a problem to solve it. This is how the abstract theory is meant to become a practical tool.
And this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? We've got a guardian, a multidimensional reality, and this method for connection. But how does all of this come down from the clouds and translate into practice, especially with something as urgent as artificial intelligence?
This brings us to our most concrete section yet. We're going to ground this entire system in a really fascinating case study from the source material, a framework for making sure that AI communicates with ethical integrity. So this is the EPI CSS framework for ethical AI. Let's just walk through it. First, the EPI core lets the AI adjust its emotional tone based on the situation, so it can be more empathetic when things are sensitive and more technical when that's what's needed. Next, the normalization filter, it acts like a governor, stopping the AI from being way too dramatic or coldly robotic. Then tolerance regulation gets even smarter, adapting to the user's own emotional state so it doesn't overwhelm them. And finally, the whole thing is monitored in real time to catch any ethical red flags or manipulative patterns before they can become a problem.
And the crucial point here is that this isn't just a list of suggestions, it's a governed, measurable system. This slide basically shows us the dashboard. It's tracking the balance between emotion and logic in what the AI is saying. It's checking for compliance with its core ethical rules. You can think of it as its base code of conduct. And it's counting how many anomalies or potential ethical breaches are being flagged. This is how you translate those high-level principles into real-world functional code.
All right, let's move to our final section and see how this all comes together. We've seen the steward, the world, the method, and the application. Now let's look at the unified vision this entire system is working towards. And this incredible image is meant to be a visual metaphor for the entire doctrine in action. It's called the Great Filter on Bloom Tensor. Think of those green lines as the timeless principles of truth, always flowing in. The red, broken chains, that's the ethical entropy we talked about at the start, the forces of chaos and decay. And the blue forces are the active work of the steward, using tethering to apply both sharp critique and creative spirit to keep the system whole. It's not a static thing. It's a system in a constant dynamic balance against the forces trying to tear it apart. And that leaves us with this final crucial question. The Tethering Doctrine presents one incredibly detailed answer, suggesting that our survival depends not on stronger systems, but on more enduring principles. As we build our own complex technological future, the question it leaves for all of us is this: what principles will we choose for our anchor?